The Black Forest, ancient, immense. A place where time seems to stand still, where the whispers of the past linger in the air, and the shadows hold secrets long forgotten. A place where sunlight feared to tread. The canopy above was so thick that even the bravest rays of the sun struggled to penetrate, leaving the forest floor in perpetual twilight. Beneath a sky already surrendering to night, the trees stood like gnarled giants, their branches clawing at the fading light. Each tree seemed to have a story etched into its bark, of times long past and events long forgotten. A chill wind whispered through the pines, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and primal. It was as if the forest itself was breathing, exhaling memories of a time when it was untouched by human hands. The forest held its breath, a living entity shrouded in shadow and secrets. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a branch seemed to be a message, a communication from the heart of the forest to those who dared to enter. The last rays of sun bled through the canopy, painting long, skeletal fingers of light across the forest floor. These fleeting moments of light were like the forest's final sigh before nightfall, a brief reminder of the world beyond the shadows. They danced with the shadows, creating an ever-shifting tapestry of darkness and light. The interplay of light and shadow was mesmerizing, a silent ballet that spoke of the eternal struggle between day and night. But as night tightened its grip, the light retreated, leaving behind an oppressive darkness that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The forest transformed, becoming a realm of mystery and wonder, where every shadow could hide a secret and every sound could be a whisper from the past. A lone figure stumbled through the undergrowth, his breath misting in the cold air. The forest was dense, with towering trees that seemed to close in on him from all sides, their branches intertwining like the fingers of ancient giants. He was clad in rough-spun wool, a worn leather pack slung across his back. The pack was heavy, filled with provisions he had thought would last him the journey, but now seemed like a burden. Each step he took was accompanied by the creak of leather and the rustle of fabric. His name was Thomas, and he was hopelessly lost. The path he had once been so sure of had vanished, swallowed by the forest's ever-changing landscape. He had tried to retrace his steps, but every direction looked the same, a maze of trees and shadows. He had entered the forest with a heart full of youthful arrogance, certain he could navigate its depths. The stories of the forest's dangers had seemed like mere tales to him, exaggerated to frighten children. But now, those tales felt all too real. Now, fear gnawed at the edges of his courage. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent a jolt of terror through him. He could feel the forest watching him, its unseen eyes tracking his every move. Each step was an effort, his boots sinking into the soft, yielding earth. The ground was treacherous, with hidden roots and patches of mud that threatened to pull him down. He had to watch his footing carefully, lest he trip and fall. He pushed aside a low-hanging branch, its leaves brushing against his face with spectral fingers. The touch was cold and damp, sending a shiver down his spine. It was as if the forest itself was trying to hold him back, to keep him from finding his way out. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the rustle of leaves beneath his feet and the frantic beating of his own heart. It was a silence that seemed to press in on him, amplifying every sound he made. He felt utterly alone, isolated in a world of shadows and whispers. He had been walking for hours, yet the forest seemed to stretch endlessly before him. The trees formed an impenetrable wall, and the path ahead was shrouded in darkness. He began to wonder if he would ever find his way out, or if he was destined to wander these woods forever. A twig snapped. Thomas froze, every muscle in his body tense. He had heard tales whispered around campfires, stories of the things that lurked within the forest's embrace. He dismissed them as superstitious nonsense, yet now, alone in the deepening gloom, doubt crept in like a chilling draught. He strained his ears, listening for any sound that might betray the source of the noise. Silence met his ears, heavy and absolute. Then he saw them. 2 points of emerald fire burning bright in the darkness. They were watching him, their intensity unwavering. A low growl, barely audible above the whisper of the wind, sent shivers down his spine. Panic welled up inside Thomas. He stumbled back, his hand instinctively reaching for the hunting knife at his belt. The eyes followed his every move, their glow seeming to intensify with his fear. He had never believed in the stories, the whispers of a creature that haunted these woods. But now, faced with those malevolent eyes, he could no longer deny the truth. The wind picked up, swirling around him, carrying with it the faintest of whispers. They spoke of a curse, of a king who had ruled with an iron fist, his heart consumed by greed and cruelty. They spoke of a darkness that had seeped into his very soul, twisting him into something monstrous, something inhuman. Section 5. The Cursed King. Legend had it that the king, drunk with power, had sought to conquer death itself. He had summoned a coven of witches, their eyes burning with ancient magic, to perform a ritual that would grant him immortality. But the witches, sensing the darkness that festered within him, had cursed him instead. His reign of terror ended abruptly, his body never found. Some whispered that he had been consumed by the very magic he sought to control, transformed into a creature of the night, forever bound to the forest he had once ruled. The eyes in the darkness blinked, their glow momentarily fading. Then, with a suddenness that made Thomas cry out, a shape began to emerge from the shadows. It was large, much larger than any wolf he had ever seen, its muscles coiled like springs beneath its thick, matted fur. Its fangs gleamed like daggers in the moonlight, and its claws scraped against the forest floor, sending sparks flying. The creature lowered its head, sniffing the air, its hot, fetid breath washing over Thomas. He could smell the musk of wild animals, the metallic tang of blood. Terror lent speed to Thomas's limbs. He scrambled backwards, his eyes never leaving the creature as it stalked towards him. He caught a fleeting glimpse of its face, a grotesque parody of a man's, twisted into an expression of bestial hunger. Its eyes, those burning emerald orbs, seemed to pierce through him, reading his fear, savoring his terror. He stumbled over a gnarled root and fell, the air knocked from his lungs. The creature loomed over him, its shadow swallowing him whole. He closed his eyes, bracing himself for the end. But the end didn't come. He cautiously opened his eyes to find the creature gone, vanished as quickly as it appeared. He was alone. The only sounds the frantic beating of his heart and the whisper of the wind through the trees. He lay there for a moment, catching his breath, trying to make sense of what he'd seen. He scrambled to his feet, his eyes darting nervously into the shadows. He had to get out of the forest, had to escape the darkness that pressed in on him from all sides. He ran, blindly, desperately, his lungs burning, his legs screaming for respite. But the forest seemed to stretch on forever, a labyrinth of shadows and fear. He didn't know how long he ran, but just when he thought he could go no further, he stumbled into a clearing. His breath came in ragged gasps, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. The forest around him was a maze of shadows and whispers, each step he took echoing with the rustle of unseen creatures. He had been running for what felt like hours, driven by a fear he couldn't fully understand. The darkness seemed to close in on him, the trees looming like silent sentinels. Just when he thought he could go no further, his foot caught on a root and he tumbled into a clearing, the sudden openness startling him. In the center stood an ancient stone well, its rim overgrown with ivy. The well seemed out of place, a relic from another time, forgotten and reclaimed by nature. The moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting an eerie glow on the stone structure. He approached it cautiously, his eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of movement. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a reminder of the forest's age and mystery. The well's stones were slick with moss, and as he ran his fingers over the surface, he felt the rough texture of the ivy that clung to it. As he drew closer, he noticed something carved into the stone, something that made his blood run cold. The carvings were intricate, almost mesmerizing in their detail. He traced the lines with his fingers, feeling the grooves and indentations. The symbols were unfamiliar, yet they seemed to pulse with a hidden energy. It was as if the stone itself was alive, whispering secrets from a time long past. He could feel a chill run down his spine as he realized the significance of what he was seeing. It was a single word, etched deep into the ancient stone: beware. The word seemed to glow in the moonlight, a stark warning to anyone who dared to come close. He could feel the weight of the word, the sense of danger it conveyed. It was a message from the past, a warning that had stood the test of time. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that the forest itself was aware of his presence. Below the word, almost invisible in the moonlight, was a symbol, a circle with a single eye staring out from its center. He recognized it instantly. It was the same symbol he had seen in the creature's eyes, a mark that had haunted his dreams. The eye seemed to follow him, its gaze piercing through the darkness. He could feel a sense of dread building within him, a realization that he was not alone. The symbol was a sign, a mark of something ancient and powerful. It was the same symbol he had seen in the creature's eyes. The memory of the encounter sent a shiver down his spine. The creature had been unlike anything he had ever seen, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The symbol had been etched into its very being, a mark of its connection to the forest. He could still hear the creature's growl, a sound that echoed in his mind. The realization that the creature and the well were connected filled him with a sense of foreboding. As he stared at the well, a terrifying thought took root in his mind. What if the creature wasn't just a guardian, but a part of the forest itself? What if the well was a gateway, a portal to something far more sinister? The thought made his heart race, his mind filling with images of ancient rituals and forgotten gods. He could feel the weight of the forest's secrets pressing down on him, a sense of inevitability that he couldn't escape. The well was more than just a relic. It was a key to understanding the true nature of the forest. The beast wasn't the forest's only secret, it was its guardian. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. The creature was not just a random monster, it was a protector, a sentinel of the forest's hidden truths. The forest was alive with secrets, each tree and shadow holding a piece of a larger puzzle. He could feel the presence of the creature, lurking just beyond the edge of the clearing, watching him with those piercing eyes. The forest was a living entity, and he had just scratched the surface of its mysteries, and he had just stumbled upon something it was sworn to protect. The well was a focal point, a nexus of the forest's power. He could feel the energy emanating from it, a pulse that resonated with the very heart of the forest. The creature's presence was a testament to the well's importance, a guardian sworn to protect its secrets. He knew that he had uncovered something significant, something that could change his understanding of the world. The forest's secret was now his burden to bear, a mystery that he was compelled to unravel.